guys, it's Laura from Doggy U, and today I'm going to do a quick video on what a trainer's morning looks like. So what I'm doing in the morning to prep my dogs, get them ready and relaxed and be able to be settled while I'm working or while I'm going out and training for the day. So here we have Cool Whip. She's just coming out of her crate. She takes a while to wake up, so we give her a little time in the morning to chill on the bed before we get started and we go out for our morning walk. So the first thing that I do when I get up after I get dressed is we go out and we go for our morning walk. So first I want to show you what I pack in my treat pouch when I go walking. I have my knife, just in case I need that while I'm out in the woods. I have my spray shield in case we come across a dog that tries to attack my dog. That very rarely happens, but I'd rather be prepared. And then I also have my cookies so that I can train in the woods, reward them for when they come back. And then I have my bell. My bell is a really important part. So the bell I put on the dogs so that the animals know that we're there, and also so that I know where the dogs are if they're in dense cover. And then finally some poop bags so I can pick up after myself. I put that treat pouch on and I'm ready to go for my walk. Having that treat pouch allows me to be prepared for a variety of situations, so I'm always ready in the woods. Then I'm going to put my harnesses on my dogs. I reward for putting the harnesses on because both of my dogs are a little bit body sensitive, so I want that to be a positive experience for them. So once I have their harnesses on, we're ready to go for a walk. The type of walk we do varies, but most of the time it's an off-leash walk in the woods, somewhere between 30 minutes and 90 minutes, depending on what my schedule is like that day. So they're always getting a really decent walk in the morning. If I am doing an off-leash walk with both the dogs, I typically put on their Garmin collars, so they're their GPS tracking collars, just in case something bad happens. I'll always know where my dog is. And I'm going to do another video on why I love these GPS collars and how amazing they are. But for today's walk, we were doing an on-leash for Jake and off-leash for Whip. Jake is currently on leash restriction. So now I have them sit at the door and wait, and then I release them and we go out to do our walking. Now, this next clip is real life training with me. What you can't see in this video is that there is a big dog with a lot of reactivity issues that's on the other side of the sidewalk. And what I'm doing with my dogs is just rewarding for good behavior. I know this guy, I know the dog, he's kind of a jerk to the dog, and I don't want to have any conflict with my dogs, and there's nothing to be gained by, forcing my dogs to walk by a reactive dog. So we've pulled way up onto the grass on someone's lawn, and we're just rewarding for good behavior until the dog passes, and just creating a no conflict walk, because my walks are for me and for my dogs, and so that we can relax. All right, so now we're heading into the woods. We've walked the quarter of the mile from my house to the woods. Yes, we specifically bought this house so that I would have woods access every day. So I take them into the woods on leash typically, and then once they've calmed down a little bit, I make sure that they're responding. Then I'm gonna go ahead and let Whip off or both of them off, depending on what I'm doing with them that day. And sometimes they'll get a walk with, 20 minutes of off-leash time in the woods and then the rest of it on-leash. And sometimes they'll get an hour and a half real hike in the woods off-leash. So now I'm taking her leash off and I'm putting the bell on. We've worked a lot on her not just bolting when the leash comes off. And then I asked for a couple of obedience behaviors. Now you'll notice she's really excited to go run her sprints in the woods because I allow her to go sprint in the woods. Once she makes eye contact with me, I'm going to release her. Yep. So she goes off to run in the woods, and she does a big lap, and then she comes back to me, which is totally fine. I want her to be able to explore. I want to also note here again that I am going Monday through Friday when there is no one in the woods. There's no cars parked outside the woods. I know these woods really well. I'm not infringing on other people's walking. If I were to see a person, I won't off-leash my dogs. If the dogs happen to be off-leash and I see a person approaching, I call my dogs to me and I leash them. I'm not in the woods to try and infringe on anybody else's ability to use the woods. Berlin does not have leash laws in this woods, so they are allowed to be off-leash, but I want to be really respectful of the other people in the woods. So you'll notice I called Whip back to me. She was doing her lap. She comes back and we reward. And now she kind of hangs out a lot more after she's done her big lap. But she's an energetic girl and she needs to do a little lap around the woods in the morning to burn off a little bit of energy. I've worked really hard on her recall so that she can be an off-lead dog. And the other thing that I always do in the woods is obedience. So I spend a couple minutes each day while I'm in the woods, mid-walk, doing obedience with my dogs and throughout the walk, because I want them to know that those behaviors are required everywhere. I want to practice them so that they understand that, yeah, we do recalls in the woods, we do downs in the woods, we do stays in the woods. And I'll use the woodland creatures and the animals to practice this behavior. I also make sure that I have cookies with me or treats. Typically I'm training with their kibble, but for the woods I give them something slightly better because there's lots of really fun things in the woods besides me. Let's be honest. So I'm rewarding for behavior I like, I'm practicing it, and each day I'll do something a little different with them, but this is just some basic obedience I do with them in the woods. I'll also sometimes use natural elements to do a little bit of agility or balancing work or whatever I come across. I see how can I use that in my training with my dogs. I'll also practice my drop, so making sure that I can have them lay down anywhere. This is a little bit of functional obedience because sometimes I'll go up and I'll make sure that I leash them, especially as we get closer to the road. So I'll leash the dogs, get them ready to go, and sometimes I'll continue on my walk. So instead of the leash meaning that the walk is over, I'll continue further past where we typically go so that they understand that leashing isn't necessarily a bad thing. So we walk out of the woods and we're headed home. On the way home, I typically do a little bit of training, so some leash walking training, just making sure that they're not pulling. I don't need them to be in a tight heel, but I need them not pulling when I ask. Then I'll take their harnesses off before I get inside because they're usually muddy and dirty. Then I'll open the door and let them on in. Once inside, it's time for a quick training session. So I use kibble in the morning to train with my dogs, anywhere from 3 minutes to 25 minutes, depending on what we're doing. So I'll take my kibble, put it in the treat pouch, go on downstairs to the basement where I've commandeered the area for training. I got my little training center down there, but you certainly don't need that. You can just use your living room to train in. And I work with both the dogs on whatever it is that we're working on that day. One thing I've spent a lot of time working on is having one dog being trained while the other one is up on a platform, like a climb. Now notice I have not cleaned the basement for you. This is what the basement looks like every day. A lot of dog training stuff everywhere. But basically we're going to start working on whatever it is we've been working on for the past week. Maybe we'll do new stuff. And you'll notice the other dog in the background learning how to be calm while the one dog is working. And I'll periodically go and reward that dog, then release one to train. So they'll keep switching on and off during our training session. So each one gets a chance to train. And today we did a little bit of healing. We worked on our foot stall with Whip, and then we also did some peanut work. Then we go upstairs and it's time for the remainder of their meal. So if I'm leaving and they need to hop in the car with me right away, I will feed out of a bowl, but typically I'm not feeding out of a bowl. Most of the time what I'm doing is feeding out of a Kong or a puzzle toy of some sort. But if I am feeding out of a bowl, I have them wait on their climb platform and hang out while I make their meals. And I also make sure that I am having them wait for their food, so do a little bit of a patience exercise and then release them to their food. On typical mornings, I'm working from home in the morning, so I'm going to get them all settled in with their nice Kongs. They have a nice spot where they're supposed to eat their Kongs, and they stay in their place, and they munch on their Kongs for a good hour or so, and then I'm free to do work. They've been exercised mentally and physically, and then they're having their food that's going to, again, mentally exercise them, and they're ready to go for the day, pretty much, and I'm off to do the work that I need to do. The whole morning ritual takes anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour and 45 minutes, depending on how much time I want to spend in the morning. But they're always getting a solid 45 minutes of training and exercise every morning to keep them happy and healthy. Because I invited them into my home, they didn't choose to live here, and I want to make sure that they're getting everything that they need. I hope you enjoyed this video about what a trainer does in the morning with their dogs. If you have questions, comment below. If you want to tell me what your morning routine looks like, definitely comment below. Make sure you like this video and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Happy training!